Welcome to Build the Room, a podcast for entrepreneurs, creators, and visionaries who aren't waiting for a seat at the table. They're building the whole daggone room. This space is for the ones creating belonging and a profit on their own terms. So, whether you're building your first online community or reimagining the one you've already got, you're in the right place. Grab your notebook, get comfortable, and let's get into it. I'm your host, Nella, and this is Build the Room. Hey, welcome back to Build the Room, the podcast for creators and community builders who aren't just chasing clout. They're here to build something that lasts. If you're new here, I'm Nella, and this is where we talk about what it really takes to build a community that feels good and pays well. So let's get into it. I have been thinking about something that I feel like a lot of people avoid saying out loud when it comes to building a community. Sometimes you outgrow the room you built. I'll say it again for the people in the back. Sometimes you outgrow the room you built. Yeah, even if you loved it, even if you worked hard for it, even if it felt like your forever place when you first started. And I know that's hard, especially when you poured your heart into creating something that meant something. Maybe it was a Facebook group you started from scratch. Maybe it was a private community that brought in your first real income. Maybe it was a group chat that turned into a movement, but somewhere along the way, you stopped feeling excited. You started feeling drained or even disconnected. And maybe you brushed it off like, oh, I'm just tired or I need a break. But what you were really feeling was misalignment. That moment when your purpose expands, but your community doesn't. When the people you're serving are still asking for version 1.0 of you, and you're already on version 4.5. Let's just sit with that for a second, because I've been there, okay? And I want to ask, when was the last time you asked yourself if your community still reflects who you are now? Not just who you were when you started. Because the hard part of being a builder is you can be really good, and I mean really good, at creating a room and still realize you don't belong in it anymore. And the guilt that comes with that, I have felt it, all right? And it is real. You start questioning yourself like, am I abandoning them? Do I seem flaky? Some people might say fugazi or fraudulent, whatever the case may be. You might ask yourself, what if I pivot and nobody follows me? Right? And honestly, those are real and they are valid questions. That internal tug of war kind of thing, it's real. But I learned evolution is not abandonment. And growth will always cost you something. And sometimes it costs you the room you were once so proud of. Some time ago, a few years ago, there was a community I built early in my social media journey. I wasn't even a digital community strategist yet, right? And I loved this community. It was popping. I was one of the foundational members, and I helped the founder quite a bit with building this community. We had active threads, excited members, weekly calls. People were getting value. It was working. People had transformation. I had transformation, but I was also growing quietly, internally. And every time, eventually, Every time I got on a call, I felt like I was shrinking to fit a version of myself I had already outgrown. I found myself saying the same things I didn't even, not even fully believed anymore, but I found myself repeating the same thing, the same lessons that I already learned, that I've already aced. And it's not because they weren't helpful to me at one point, but they didn't apply because I wasn't there anymore. I stayed longer than I should have. And it was all out of loyalty, out of love, and out of fear. And eventually that led to resentment. And that resentment wasn't towards the founder, it wasn't towards the other members, but it was towards myself. It wasn't until I got honest and said, I can love what I have helped create and still move on from it, that I freed myself. Some people, they ended up having that same realization and they followed me maybe to the next room or they went and found their own room. And then in the same breath, some people didn't. And both were okay. Because the people who are meant to grow with you or just meant to grow in general will. And those who aren't, they still played their part in your evolution. So here's what I want you to reflect on. Are you still building a room you want to be in? Does your community reflect where you're headed or just where you've been? And if you're hearing these questions and you're saying, Nella, not really, then what's stopping you from creating either a new space that fits who you've become or expanding the space that you currently have? Sometimes we end up staying because we don't want to disappoint people. Sometimes we stay because we're scared we'll have to start over. Sometimes we stay because we've built an identity around what we've already built. But starting over doesn't mean that you're starting from scratch. You're bringing wisdom this time. This time, you're bringing lessons. This time, you're bringing data. And this time, you're bringing experience. And if you feel like you've outgrown the space that you are currently in, you probably have. And the longer you try to shrink yourself to fit a room that no longer serves you, the more you disconnect from the version of you that you're supposed to become. You didn't, and I say this with all the love in my heart, you didn't come this far to keep playing small. So I want you to understand you are allowed to grow. You are allowed to change your mind. You are allowed to reintroduce yourself and to build something brand spanking new. And guess what? It's not too late either. You don't have to wait until you're burned out. You don't have to wait until everything is falling apart and it feels like the world around you is crashing down. You can make the decision right now from a place of peace. You can love what you built and still leave it with grace. And I'm going to say it again. Growth is not betrayal. It's an invitation to create something that matches the version of you that's standing here right now. And you've earned that, okay? So, if this episode hit home for you, send it to a friend who needs to hear it. Or, not even or, tag me on social media on either TikTok or Instagram. Take a screenshot of this episode, tag me at Always Nella, and let me know what's the next room you're building or how are you going to expand the room that you've already built. And of course, Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share the podcast from your favorite platform. Your support means everything to me. So, thanks for tuning in. I'll catch you next time. And until then, keep showing up, keep choosing yourself, and keep building the room. Bye.